Good morning, TGIF. The grind includes Friday, right? So I've been hitting these videos past couple Fridays, and because it does, the grind includes Friday. So this is not the off day. This is not the rest day. This is not the take it easy day. Maybe you go to your job and do that. I mean, I don't really care if you do that because you don't work here, but you do not slack off on your fitness on Friday. I think if you can push hard on Friday and Monday, it's going to set you up for everything. I really do, because life is like 10% what happens to you and 90% how you react to it. And how you do one thing is how you do anything. And if you can't keep the house clean, I don't know how you're going to just annihilate your fitness. Like, everything has to play out that way. And I really like TGIF. The grind includes Friday, because if you can capitalize on Friday and Monday, you're going to hit the two best and worst days of the week, and you're going to be set. So that's why I keep doing these videos on Friday. But I want to give a shout out to the T-Money, Tanner Hecker, for giving us the idea to do this video today. So I make all these videos based on what you guys want. And yesterday was like, hey, you should do one on training plateaus. Okay, perfect, done, look at that. All right, so the grind includes Friday. For all you strong siders, remember that the Strong Side Showdown is tomorrow. So that's our in-house competition. We're gonna be jamming from like 8 to 1 tomorrow. 4 events, RX and scaled, in-house only. It's totally to get you ready for the open. It's gonna be good times, all right? So here's what I wanna do. First off, get your coffee ready. Hammer in that Starbucks sponsorship. Okay, so the first thing I want to talk about, or the only thing I want to talk about, is how to overcome a training plateau. That's really common, and a lot of people hit walls in their training, whether it's just because the training can be training to lose weight, it can be training to go to the Olympics, it can be whatever, but throughout anybody's training cycle, they're going to hit a plateau where they feel like they're really struggling, or they don't have the ability to perform the way that they want, all right? So let's look at a couple of things. First off, how to overcome a training plateau. As I'm going through this, before I even talk about year one, it is extremely important to understand that I'm only talking about like actual training. I'm not talking about like, look, I'm not trying to make anybody mad, but you're gonna hit a plateau if you're doing mild exercise every now and then, and your nutrition is what's most convenient to you and all that. Those are not, those inconsistent variables are that you're not gonna hit a plateau. It's not called a plateau. You're just not getting to your goal because you're not doing anything about it. Like, I'm just gonna be real with you. I love you, but the training plateaus only apply to consistency. Otherwise, you're just not at your goal because you're not doing it enough, or there's not enough attention to detail. All right. So there's that. Okay, but let's say you're training on a consistent measurement, meaning that you're training a consistent volume. Your nutrition is consistently what you want it to be. I'm not saying that you need to train 6 days a week and only eat chicken and broccoli. That's not what I'm saying. But you're training 3-4 days a week. You're doing whatever, and you're actually training. You're not just going into the gym and just slinging stuff around and hoping that it works. I'm saying you're actually training, because if you're just going into the gym, any gym, and slinging stuff around, hopping on a treadmill and hoping that getting out of breath works, and then go pick up some dumbbells, well, it might not just be a plateau. It might just be that your training model isn't even in existence. So there's that. Okay, so I want to make sure we understand that, because that we need to make sure that we're actually training, like you're at Strong Side training or something like that, to get better. And that's how we know you're at a plateau. And training doesn't mean that you have to be at a certain level of fitness to do that. You can be extremely out of shape. You can have never worked out before in your life. Really what I'm saying is that you have a systematic attendance and attacking plan towards your training. And over time, the 4 days a week you've been coming to the gym, and the training model that you've been following, P90X, Strong Side, Zumba, whatever, and what you're eating, all these things are consistent, and you hit a wall. You're no longer progressing. That's what I mean about training plateaus, all right? Not frustration because you're not at your goal. Okay, so year one of any training program is the best year ever, all right? So typically this doesn't happen to people usually in their first year, unless one of those things I just talked about comes into play. Like, if you're not attending the workout program, if you're not really eating well and stuff like that, then yeah, that's why you're at your plateau. But if you're coming consistently, nutrition is consistent, you're doing all the things that you should, your first year is great. You're putting up 30-pound PRs in your back squat. You go from the barbell to body weight back squat. You're like, yes, my first year is awesome. Maybe, you know, just to be fair, let's talk about Zumba. Maybe you learn like all the moves or something. I don't know how Zumba works, but your first year is great, okay? Then that's when the training plateaus start to occur, you know, because we're going to talk about why, but the deeper you get into your training as an athlete or as just a recreational fitnesser that wants to do better, that's when, you know, I used to be able to do 3 pull-ups. I really want to get to 4. Ooh, that's really hard. I feel like I'm hitting a plateau. Stuff like that comes into play. Okay, so year 1 is great. One thing we want to do is understand why you would be at a plateau before we talk about how to fix it, all right? Because I want to make sure you understand it and how to measure it and then how to fix it. So number 1 is expectation versus reality. And what I mean by that is that if somebody weighs 300 pounds and they lose 30 pounds in a month, and then you weigh 150 pounds and you also want to lose 30 pounds in a month, that's not going to happen unless you're violently ill. That's not going to happen. Because expectation versus reality, somebody that's a little bit larger is going to be able to lose weight faster than somebody who's smaller. And what I mean by that is percentage of body weight. 30 pounds to somebody who's 300 is not the same as 30 pounds to somebody who's 150. So before we say that we're automatically at a plateau, we need to make sure that our expectation versus reality is appropriate. If somebody is already very much more muscular than you and they set a weightlifting goal and you just started lifting and you set the same weightlifting goal, expectation versus reality, you're not necessarily at a plateau. We just didn't evaluate it right. And that might go back to our SMART goals. But expectation versus reality. You also want to understand that as performance goes up, margin goes down. So the better you're doing, the amount that you can increase your performance gets way smaller. For example, let's say you talk about running, all right? It is significantly easier to get somebody from a 10-minute mile to a 6-minute mile than it is to get somebody from a 6-minute mile to a 5-minute mile. We can easily get you to a 6-minute mile. That's not that crazy. It's hard. It's not easy by any means. But going from a 10-minute mile to a 6-minute mile is not that crazy. But going from a 6-minute mile to a 5-minute mile, just that 1 minute, that's nuts. So what'll happen is, again, let's say somebody weighs 300 pounds. They're going to shed off weight. They'll probably be able to make very minimal dietary changes and very minimal exercise changes with getting out of breath just a little bit. And they'll lose a lot of weight because they have a lot of weight to lose. Versus if somebody is smaller and they want to lose that 5 pounds or whatever, your margin is smaller. So you performing better in weight loss, your margin is going to go down. Same deal when you look at weightlifting. You know, a lot of people watch the Olympics and snatch and clean and jerk and they're like, wow, they made it look so easy or whatever. Well, those guys are training for years to PR by like 1 kilo and stuff, because the better you get, the smaller your margin of performance is. So your first year is great, 30-pound PRs on everything, your snatch goes up like 1,000,000 pounds, you lose a ton of weight, you're doing great. But then we need to evaluate the expectation versus reality. If you start hitting a PR, is what I'm expecting of myself. Can I really do that in the time frame that I'm allowing, or do I just feel like I should be there based on the work that I've done? And then we have to understand that as performance goes up, margin goes down. So for example, if you can snatch your body weight, and then you say 6 months from now, I want to snatch double body weight. No, not gonna happen. So we have to measure that first. So we first need to understand, like we talked about, understanding the concept first before we just automatically say that I'm not where I want to be, so I'm at a plateau. All right. So you might not, if none of this stuff is going on, then you might not even be at a plateau. But we need to understand expectation versus reality and understand that as performance goes up, margin increases. So, margin decreases. So if you already run a really fast mile and you want to make it faster, and you only get a little bit better, that doesn't mean you're at a plateau. It means that you're already running a really freaking fast mile and you were only able to improve a little bit, all right? And you'll see it all the time. Go watch the Olympics or whatever. These dudes win by 1/100th of a second and it's like a huge deal. So stuff like that. Okay, how do you measure it? So how do you even know if you're at a plateau or not? Because again, like I talked about in the beginning of the video, just because you're not at your goal or you're having trouble reaching the goal doesn't mean that you're at a training plateau. Training plateau is meaning that what you're currently doing isn't effective enough to reach your goal, all right? So how to measure it. Number one is performance. If you're doing anything that impacts your performance, or you notice that your performance goes down or is not increasing, so kind of like stays the same, then that should be alarm number one, all right? So regardless of weight, regardless, like weight loss, regardless of how much you're lifting or anything like that, if your performance in the workouts, whether you're measuring that in a WOD or a run or a max pull-ups or whatever, if your performance is not going in the direction you want it to go, that should be telling you that something else, some other factor, like an external factor, is not where it needs to be. So that's number one, all right? Number two, if you're talking about weight loss, is measurements. Don't use the scale. You can use it every now and then, but measurements can be the pant size you wear, the shirt size you wear. It can be doing like a 7-site measurement or something like that. But use your measurements. Don't use overall weight. There is so many factors that play with your weight that it's just not, even if it didn't get you unmotivated, it's not a very good measurement tool to measure against. So you want to use measurement, not overall body weight, all right? You can, if you're measuring weightlifting, like how much you lift, then you can do percent of body weight in the lift. So, if you're standing next to somebody and somebody is squatting 100 pounds and you're squatting 200 pounds, well, then you want to look at body weight. You want to say, okay, if Buddy over there squats 400 pounds, but they weigh 300, that's not really as impressive as somebody that weighs 200 squatting 400, because they're squatting double body weight. So you want to look at it that way too, not just he or she squats this, I squat this, whatever. And you don't want to look at weight, like this person weighs this and I weigh that. That's not really the unit of measurement we want to do. We want to do measurements and we want to do percent of body weight for the lifts. But even over these two things, just to reiterate, regardless of this is what goes up. Like, for example, we've tackled a lot of regional workouts this week and last week. The Open's coming up. We've done a lot of benchmarker workouts. We talk about running these crazy mile times or whatever. When you can perform at a very high level, you're not worried about your body fat percentage. Like, if you're able to do, so for all you strong side athletes, if you're able to do the workout that we did yesterday, that deadlift box jump workout in under 5 minutes, you are not concerned about your body weight or body fat percentage or your percent of body weight lifts or something like that. You can see your abs just fine when you do that. That's why you focus on performance, meaning that if you can't do a pull-up, like if you want to come into the gym and you want to lose 10 pounds, that's great, cool, lose 10 pounds. But you can't do a pull-up, you run a 15-minute mile, and you can only squat the barbell. Okay, cool. Let's get you to do 5 pull-ups, run an 8-minute mile, and squat 100 pounds. And when that stuff happens, you're not going to be concerned at all about what your body fat percentage is because you made so much performance changes. So your plateau should completely reflect performance. Am I doing better than I was yesterday? Am I achieving the goals that I want to performance-wise? If I'm not, and my measurements are consistent, and my expectation versus reality is good, then I might be hitting a plateau, okay? So how do you overcome it? All right, so how do you overcome a training plateau? This is the gold question that everybody wants to know. All right, again, before we even talk about this, training plateau is not inconsistency. So we're not saying because what'll happen is if I go through this and you don't understand this, then you're gonna get really, really frustrated if you don't understand the first part of the video. So just to recap the first part of the video. When we are saying training plateau, we are saying that your nutrition's good, your consistency and attendance is good, you're doing a pretty good job. Like you're coming 3, 4, 5 days a week, your nutrition is what you want, you're sleeping really well. It's not like your life is perfect, but you have good fitness variables and you're still not reaching your goals. Like you're not losing any more weight, your body fat's not changing, your squat's not going up, stuff like that. If you're coming 1 day a week, 1 week, 5 days a week the next week, and 3 days a week you're eating a Chick-fil-A, but then, this week you had a salad, whatever. I'm not hating on you. I'm just saying that doesn't mean that you're at a training plateau. It means we need to fix that stuff first, and because that's why you're not getting better versus the training plateau. But if your consistency and all that is really good, then a couple things. Number one, look at your current state of training. So you have to look at what I'm doing right now. Okay, I'm in a training plateau. I'm not squatting more. I know I keep talking about squatting, but just to keep it simple. So I'm not squatting more. My WODs are staying the same. I'm not really improving my performance, all right? But I'm coming, I'm working hard, and I'm doing my nutrition and stuff like that. So you gotta look at your current state. So make sure that's consistent. Then you have to look at it kind of on a caloric volume and exercise amount ratio. So think of it this way: is there such thing as overtraining, or is there undereating and undersleeping? So the more you train, the more you eat. The more you train, the more you recover, stuff like that. If you are currently eating 2,000 calories a day and working out 3 days a week, that will only get you so far, all right? I'm not saying that's bad. I'm just saying that volume is only gonna get you so far. So like if Arnold Schwarzenegger in his prime wanted to get so big, all right? Let's pretend steroids didn't exist there for a second. But if he only wanted to get so big, all right? And he said, I'm gonna eat 5,000 calories a day. 5,000 calories a day is only gonna get him so big. He's gonna have to go to 6,000 calories a day to get bigger. Then if he's not satisfied with that, he's gonna have to go to 7,000 calories a day to get bigger, so on and so forth. You're gonna have to change one of these variables. So or both, but you're not, if your current attendance rate in training and your current caloric volume is not getting you to where you want, you're either gonna have to come more, eat more, or both, or you're gonna have to change something, because we can't keep doing the same thing and then expect a different outcome, because you're gonna have to change that. Most of the time, a lot of people will come in and they'll say, I'm eating whatever, like let's just say that it's calories and we're all about like macros and stuff. Let's just keep it simple. They're eating 2,000, 3,000 calories a day, whatever. And let's say they're coming 5 days a week. Cool. All right, well then we gotta look at, is that athlete not eating enough to support what they're expending? And they're also asking their body to grow. So I don't care who you are or your fitness level, if you are trying to add volume, like you say, I wanna squat more. I sure do wanna squat more. I don't care, pick out that number, whatever your number is, and you wanna squat more, you're asking your body to grow. You're asking it to get more definition. You're asking those muscles to grow and push harder and develop strength. If you're not packing it with fuel, ain't gonna work, all right? You have to give it more to perform better. And then we have to look at like nutrient timing and kind of when you're eating and stuff like that. But we need to look at that variable. Am I eating enough to support my volume? Is my volume of exercise too much or not enough? So on and so forth. So we're gonna have to look at those. And then number 3 is, are you doing the same thing all the time? So when you start doing the same thing over time, your body's gonna start adapting to it, and it's gonna start figuring out the easiest way to get the work done. Your body is extremely lazy. It's extremely lazy. It's exposed like in a front squat. When you get tired, it starts collapsing on itself. If you consistently do the same thing over and over again, like if you go run 3 miles every day thinking that's gonna make you fitter, you're just gonna be the best 3-mile runner ever. And your body's gonna stay at a consistent output and just be able to do the same 3 miles over and over again. And that doesn't even mean that you're gonna lose any weight. It just means you're gonna run 3 miles every day. It doesn't even mean that you're gonna get fitter. You're just gonna tolerate being able to run 3 miles every day. So you have to consistently change your variables. So if you're hitting a plateau based on everything else that we talked about, how to overcome it would be to, 1, look at your current state of training, meaning that how often are you coming, how much are you eating, stuff like that. Then look at the volume and the consistency of your training. What variable needs to change? Then you need to look at, am I doing the same thing every time that I'm training? Like, is every time I'm training, I'm just doing the same circuit of weights and getting on the treadmill for a little bit? Or am I giving a lot of variance? Now, the last thing I'll say before we exit the video is that variance in your training doesn't mean randomized crap. That doesn't mean that variance in your training is, I weightlift on Monday, I do Zumba on Tuesday, I do spin on Wednesday. That's just jumbled junk. That's fun expression of your exercise, but if you really feel like you're not getting any better, but your training program is sporadic, that there needs to be consistency in your randomized training. Meaning there needs to be consistency in your weightlifting, consistency in your conditioning, consistency in your interval training or your expression. Not just I go do different things all the time. You're just gonna have fun with your fitness, which is fine if you wanna do that, but it's not gonna elevate your performance. And when performance goes up, is when you look the way you want to look, feel the way you want to feel. You get everything out of it that you want, all right? So, one more time. Year one is going to be like champ year. You're going to love it. Look at expectation versus reality. Is what you're asking of yourself in the time frame realistic? Because if not, you're probably not at a plateau. It was just too much expectation versus the reality. Always remember that as performance goes up, your margin of increase goes down. So the better you get, the smaller your performance margins get. Anybody ever tried to PR a snatch when they're already snatching a whole lot? It's like, that's why we have kilo plates here. So there's that. How to measure it. Look at your performance. Is your performance suffering in the gym? Use measurements, not body weight. Use percent of body weight lift, not mass versus mass. If somebody weighs 200 pounds more than you, they better be squatting more than you. How to overcome it. Look at your current state of training. Look at caloric volume versus exercise volume. Am I eating enough to support, and vice versa? Am I coming enough to get gains? And then doing the same thing all the time. Make sure that there's consistency in your training program with randomization of your training program. So every couple weeks it needs to be cycling through, like our microcycles and all that stuff that we do here. I don't know why I pointed up there because you can't see anything. But TGIF, the grind includes Friday. Keep coming at me with all these videos that you want. The link to the Groupon is in the description, and let's get to work.